Hello and welcome back to Purple Does Poison, the level 7 edition of this Druid Blight caster life. You join us halfway through the Feywild. Purple is sitting in the hut from beyond, near the Cauldron of Cadence here, just at the entrance to the Feywild wilderness area. Things have been going pretty well so far, and this Death Eater enhancement, giving all the temporary hit points, would definitely make this archetype a good candidate for those of you who like to try the hardcore version of the game, in my opinion, because that, at least from level 6, when you get the thing available for the first time, that's a significant buffer against traps and lag spikes and that kind of thing. The things that most commonly lead to a death. In fact, you might recall in one of my earlier videos, the one in Kundarak, there was a lightning trap across an area which I went straight into, but the temporary points absorbed most of it, so we were never in any danger of death there, which was great. Works almost like the Warlock's stange, except it just keeps recharging without you really paying attention, because it recharges on kills. So very nice that. I'm also noticing the scaling on some of these spell-like abilities. So this acid spray stops at level 5 there, or I think in our case level 6, because as a hive master we're allowed 1 extra caster level and max caster level on acid spells. But this one here, this Splinter Bolt, goes all the way to 12, and I'm noticing now it's critting for around 400 sometimes, which is beginning to be seriously nasty. So that's nice to have. I might as well just bring the enhancements up while we're at it, if I can be bothered to go into the right area. There. So we've begun to venture into the Season's Herald, which isn't a bad thing. This Child of Summer, it's not really the one we should be in. We want to be in the winter, but I haven't got enough points yet to activate the winter, because that would give us acid and force. They both give force, so they give 5 spell power for each core, to whichever things are applicable. In this case, force, physical, all the rest of it. Positive as well isn't terrible for us. But I'm noticing it's also 1 universal spell power per point spent in this tree. So that's 1, and these are giving 1 spell power anyway per point in there. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 2 crit chance with the force spells. Once we can get that to winter, it will be 2 with acid and force, so that's not bad. Here I think we've got everything we want for the time being. I've equalised the wisdom for the Reaper mode, so we have 31 there plus 1 from the Reaper tree, so we're even 32 plus 11 in the Reaper mode. I've just put 1 point in these 2. I don't use them too often. The Thorn Bloom, I think people are right, it's a bit hit and miss, especially with the thing being as laggy as it is at the moment. I really hope this update 59 is going to do something positive for the lag we're experiencing on Orion at the moment. If not, I think I'll give serious thought to at least transferring Purple over somewhere else. Maybe to Wayfinder, as he systematically solos for these series, so it wouldn't matter that there's nobody there. In fact, a lag-free game would be very good for these recordings. I think you've seen everything else there. I just put a couple of points in there and then started into here. What else are we? Oh yes, level 7 is when the teleport scrolls and the Raise Dead scrolls come available, but sadly for me, with my low UMD, I have a 0% chance to use those, even wearing, as I am at the moment, some persuasion goggles that are giving me a nice bonus to UMD. We're only on 14, so tough times as far as raising and teleporting goes. Otherwise, I'm just boosting each level these skills you can see at the top: spellcraft, heal, concentration, blah blah. I took a couple more spells on the level up, so we got access to the level 4 spells now. There was nothing really that stood out. Acid Rain obviously would go in the theme of our build, but if you look in the DDO wiki, they've got nothing but bad things to say about that, saying the damage is way lower than it should be and blah blah blah. So I thought, no. Enveloping Swarm without these these damage over time things, because I've tried the Acid Arrow as well. Without the metas on them, they are distinctly lukewarm. So I just keep this one on the bar because it's a spell-like ability and I can throw all the meta magics on. And that's reasonably good at, you know, if you throw it on a Reaper or an end boss, just chipping away at the health. But without the metas, just too little damage and too long to chip something down. So I've gone with the Vigour to improve our crummy heal. It's still a crummy heal, but gives a few more points than it did before. Freedom of movement is excellent, especially coming as it does reasonably early. What else did I notice in here that I really would have liked? Now, Ice Storm I use all the time on my Cold Druid, not particularly for the damage because that's very mediocre. But it's very nice crowd control with a slow that is not resistible. But we do have plenty of other forms. Between the web and the spike growth and this contagion, which gives the stun, we've got plenty of other stuff going on there. So we can do without that for now, I'm sure. Oh, and I took the Long Strider spell, 15% speed. Because at the moment I'm still clicking these boots, and it occurs to me when the boot clickable after 5 minutes suddenly runs out and leaves us on 0 bonus to speed, that can leave us quite vulnerable in a fight. So at least if we've got 15 going on in the background, it's not like suddenly falling off a cliff when that runs out. The ideal solution would have been to take those level 6 boots from the quest in the 12, which is it big, kind of a big deal. What are they called now? If I could type it correctly. Kind of a big deal. Steelweave Shin Guards. They're a really nice boot. They give 25% speed bonus as well as dodge and some decent electric resist. The only reason I haven't fitted them for this build is that this is giving us our wisdom as well as +1 to all stats. The armor class bonus is valid at this early stage for getting us some extra layer of defense, so I'm not really willing to part with those at the moment, and that's why I'm messing about with the clickable still. What's this? Oh, I mentioned earlier about that you can take maximize in both of these options, so you can cut 18 points off the 25 it costs you to maximize a spell, which is nice, but still I've found it's too draining on the mana pool at this early stage. But I did experiment, I'm not sure I mentioned it before, but just in case I haven't, you can't take maximize here, maximize there, and maximise here for 0 maximise cost. I did experiment and you can't do that. So the way to go would be to take the double in there and then one of the maximise options in the Epic Destiny to effectively reduce your maximise cost to none if you wanted to do that. I've shown that there's no new gear at this level, and I think that's pretty much everything I had to say. So I was going to give a go to this first quest out here in the Feywild. I think it's called Immortality Lessons. Now apologies for the long loading times and the lag if there is some. If it becomes unplayable, I'll just have to do a separate recording of the quest. Yeah, I wanted to do this one because one of my Bear Party friends recently showed me an optional within this quest that that can drop named loot. So if you're hunting for anything from here, you've got 2 shots at it, a bit like in the Abbey of Markovia, the last what's it called, Sunrise, the last quest in Ravenloft. You have 2 chances, don't you, at the named loot, or indeed the one where there's a named chest down in the basement, the Ravenloft one. What's that called? Servant Castle Ravenloft or something, the Servant's Entrance. I can't remember, but maybe those of you who know the Ravenloft will know about that optional chest. Okay.
Once you complete the lessons I have designed, we will speak again.
In before I'm the only one who didn't know about this optional chest in here. For a long time I was just going through and doing the main quest completely oblivious to this optional, which is not unusual, I have to say, for me. Generally when I find new material I get disoriented very easily, so I find the way to the end and I don't tend to pay too much attention to exploring any sideways or anything. I just get to the end. What we got there, a torch. Now then, this guy's going to have to be dispatched quickly. We'll put the acid damage over time, the swarming thing on him. I'll try and stay out of the way of that nasty eye. Oh, we've got a Reaper up there. Is that lag? Oh! Your character has been booted from the world. That's an interesting one. Okay. I didn't have 2 screens up or anything. I don't know what's happened there. So, apologies for that. I will reload, restart and record that separately as a second part, I guess. I will speak to you soon.